Good morning and good evening. Yesterday we discussed about uh, VPC, right? So VPC, virtual private cloud, is exactly same like our data center in our companies. That we can have all the resources like servers, databases, security groups, firewalls, load balancers, everything we can have inside VPC, and we will have full control over that. Okay. So today we are going to develop VPC module. Okay, so that anybody in your organization, anyone in our organization can use this. Okay, so what we are going to do here is VPC and then internet gateway and high availability. We are working on high availability. So, every region have at least 2 availability zones in AWS, because for the disaster, I mean, if in a Mumbai, if East region has some problem with the natural disasters or some technical outages, so still we can have in West regions our resources. So it is always better at least to create our resources at least in 2 availability zones. Create resources in 2 availability zones. So this is high availability. Okay. So if one availability zone is going down, then our business is still up and running from the another availability zone. So that is why we have to choose high availability. Okay. So 2 public subnets. One is in 1A region and the other one is in 1B region. Okay. Sorry, 1B availability zones. And then 2 private subnets. Same. 2 database subnets. And then actually we need to group our database subnets. So you will understand later why we have to group. And then route tables. So we will create separate route table for public, separate route table for private, separate route table for database. Okay, so this one is same. And then here it's also the same. So it's always better to have route table for separate route table for subnet. Okay, and then we will have here associations, route table and subnet associations. And we need one NAT gateway. We will discuss why we need NAT gateway. Yeah. So these are the VPC resources. These are the minimum VPC resources we need to work on any project. Okay. So now, so how we should do? I will create a repository for module. I will create a repository Terraform, AWS, and then VPC. So this is the module. And we will have RoboShop infra repo. We will refer the Terraform AWS VPC. Okay. Suppose in future, if you start another e-commerce project, you can still refer this module so that you no need to create the resource definitions again and again. Okay, so that is the advantage of Terraform modules. So now let me create Terraform, AWS, and then VPC. Okay. So now we will see the naming best practices. Terraform naming best practices. Okay, so what they are saying here. So today you need to concentrate more because this is the same procedure you do with AWS or Azure or Google Cloud, anything. Okay. And for any resource inside any cloud. Okay, this is the same procedure of development, module development, and then how you use the module. Okay, just let us see what are the naming conventions they are telling us. Okay, they are saying don't use hyphen inside resource names. What are resource names? These ones. So these are the resource names. Okay, these are Terraform names actually. You can see this. So these are the resource names, data, output, and then resource. These are the resource names. So what they are saying here is use underscore instead of dash. Okay. Prefer to use lowercase letters. Don't use uppercase letters in resource names. And then do not repeat resource type in resource name. For example, do not repeat resource type. For example, I am creating EC2 instance. Okay. So generally resource and then AWS instance is the type. This is the type. Okay. And this is the name. You no need to again give EC2 underscore instance. Okay. So you no need to repeat it. So this is the type. EC2 is the type. You no need to repeat the resource type in the name because by seeing itself, you can understand this is the AWS instance. You no need to repeat again the same type here. Okay. You can see here, we are creating public route table. You no need to give again route table because this type itself is route table. You no need to repeat that here. You can just give public. Okay, so that's what they mean. And then resource name should be this if there is no more descriptive and general name available. Okay, so for the one-time resource, for example, VPC is the only one resource for the entire project. We will create only one VPC. Okay, so at that time, you can just denote that VPC using the keyword this or main, something like that. Okay. NAT gateway, we will create only one NAT gateway so that you can name it as this or main, whatever, generic name. Always always use singular nouns for names. You don't repeat it like EC2 instances, NAT gateways. Don't do like that. Just give NAT gateway. Use argument values in case this is okay. They are saying use count and for each at the starting of the resource block. That's it. Now you can see the example. Use count at the starting. Don't, and then for each also at the starting. Don't give it after second line or third line like that. Okay. And then tags. Conditions, variables, outputs. So I know few best practices, whatever we discussed, that is enough. You can, but still you can go through all the, they are saying use plural name if the returning value is a list. Use singular name if the returning value is a single. Okay. So like this, a simple best practices are available and just give Terraform naming best practices. You can always refer this website. This is very useful while developing. Okay. So first I'm creating module definition here. Terraform AWS VPC. Yeah, here. Okay. So I'm just giving the file name as main.tf and then variables.tf. So this is where I will develop the module. So here you will not have provider.tf. Why? Because the execution is not at the module. The execution is at the at where you are using it. So I created just now RoboShop infra, RoboShop infra. Okay. So here we will develop the module. Here we will use the module. Okay. Here I'm going to create vpc.tf and then provider.tf. Okay. Let me copy some provider. The provider key, I'm going to use VPC. Okay. Let us initialize. First we will AWS VPC main. Okay, here we need to write our resource definitions and we need to call this module from RoboShop infra. Okay, now let us do the development. Registry and then browse providers, AWS and documentation you can. And now AWS VPC Terraform. Okay, first we are creating the VPC. Now this is the block. And generally here there is something called enable DNS host names and then enable DNS support. By default, it is true, but this is false. Okay, so we need to keep these two as true. So let me copy this. CIDR block and then enable DNS host names and then enable DNS support. Okay, DNS support you should have. So generally you can keep it true. And then here also you can keep it true. Tags. Tags are very important. So you know the importance of the tags. You will keep the names, you will keep the environment, you will keep whether it is provisioned through Terraform or not. So by seeing the tags, we can use those tags. It is very useful in the billing as well. Okay, you can filter the resources and then you can understand how much charges for each project. Okay, so let's keep like this and then we need to get it through the variable var.cidr. Okay. So this is anyhow by default, it is default value, no need to keep. And you can give enable var dot enable DNS host names and var dot enable DNS support. Okay, and then so you are creating variable. You are using variables here, but you need to declare here also variable CIDR block. Okay, default equal to 10.0.0.0/0. Okay, and then variable. Or let me tell you something. I'm only giving variable definition here. Okay. So I'm only giving variable definition here so that I'm forcing user to provide the CIDR block and enable DNS host names. This is the variable enable DNS host names default equal to true. So at any point of time, user can override this, enable DNS support. So as a module developer, I am giving few default values so that if user forget, we can still have our default values. And then tags. So tags are very important right here. So I'm asking user to give the tags var dot tags variable tags type equal to map. Just giving user has to provide the tags. Okay, so this is the skeleton. Now let us test this module using our RoboShop infra. Here you need to give module, and then I'm just naming it as like this, and source Terraform AWS VPC. This is the source in my directory. Okay, so now let us go for while I'm developing. So here I am acting as module developer. Okay, for example, I am a cloud central team. I'm developing the modules and I'm pushing it to the company. So now here you as a DevOps engineer are using those modules. Okay, just switch your imagination like that. And then RoboShop infra Terraform init. It is initializing the module available in the local directory. It is done. Now you can see in Terraform, we have the modules.json. It is referring to the source of the available directory here. Okay. So now let us do the plan. Terraform plan. So you will get errors. So what is the error? This argument tags is required, but no definition was found. This argument CIDR block is required, but no argument is found. So that is the error, right? So why we are getting the error? Just think. So in Terraform AWS VPC, here for few things I gave default values. For few variables I did not give default values. So it is forcing us. If it is not finding any value here in the module, so obviously it will force us to provide. Okay. So if you want to make this as optional, you can just give default equal to like this empty. So this means tags is optional because I'm giving empty value. Okay, but CIDR block is required. That is mandatory. Without that, we cannot create VPC. So that is why I'm not giving any default value here. I'm forcing user to give. So here you need to give CIDR block equal to, you can directly hardcode here 10.0.0.0/16, or else you can have variables dot tf. You can give variable CIDR block, and then you can give default equal to 10.0.0.0/16. Okay, this is your variables, not module variables, right? This is for your purpose only. Instead of hard coding here, var dot CIDR block. Okay, that's it. Now you can go for Terraform plan. Okay, now you are able to create the resource. But we need tags. Okay, so even it is optional, it is always good to give tags. So let us give some tags here. Variable tags, and we're just naming it as common tags. So here let us have default equal to name equal to RoboShop, and then environment equal to dev, and then Terraform equal to true. Terraform equal to true. So these are the names. I can pass the names here. I mean, using the tags equal to var dot common tags. Okay. So now, while to create VPC, I'm calling Terraform AWS VPC module. I'm passing the CIDR block. I'm passing the tags. So now VPC is able to create. Terraform plan, if you give, so you will get tags also here. Okay, you'll get tags also here. So what I do now here is just focus here. So every resource have common tags. Okay, so what are the common tags? Project is RoboShop. Okay, this project belongs to RoboShop. I mean that resource belongs to RoboShop, and then environment, and then Terraform is true or not. So these are the common tags, and names can be different. For public route table, you will give different name. For private route table, you will give different name. So these are the common tags, and these are the normal tags. I mean, you can say individual tags. Individual tags. For example, route table. Let us take route table. What is the name of the route table? You will give name RoboShop public. Okay, but still you can have this project RoboShop environment dev and then Terraform true. So what we do here is we will merge the common tags with the individual tags. So what I do here is I'll have separate common tags, and then I will have VPC tags. Both are optional. And here I need to use the merge function. So let us see Terraform merge function. Terraform merge function. So this Terraform merge is taking two maps and then merging it. For example, you can see here A equal to B, C equal to D, E equal to F, C equal to Z. Then if you merge this, then you will get A, this one A, and this C equal to D is merged with C equal to Z. Okay. So that is what happening there. So now here I will give merge and then var dot common tags with var dot VPC tags. Okay, so these are the common tags. These are the individual tags like VPC tags or route table tags. You can always merge them to get the best results. Now I defined two variables, common tags and then VPC tags. So here you can pass those variables inside VPC. I'm giving var equal to common tags equal to I need to give here common tags is there and then VPC tags. Common tags I will give project equal to RoboShop so that if you see any resource, you will understand this resource belong to RoboShop project. Okay, here VPC tags, you no need to give environment and Terraform again. I'm just giving name. Okay, and then here you will give common tags equal to var dot common tags, VPC tags equal to var dot VPC tags. So now I'm passing two tags here, and these tags will be merged inside this. Okay, so now let us just plan and then understand. So as a user, what you have to do is you have to just send the variable values. That's it. Okay. Now you can see these are merged. Name equal to RoboShop, project equal to RoboShop, Terraform is true, and then environment is there. So you no need to give again RoboShop VPC. No need to give again RoboShop VPC. That's what Terraform best practice, right? You no need to repeat the resource name. Now let us apply and then check. Terraform apply auto approve. Now you go and then see here. Okay, we got the VPC created. Now, if you just see the tags, we got all the tags merged. Okay, now you got the name also. You don't need to give RoboShop hyphen VPC because this type itself is VPC. Okay, now by seeing this, anyone can understand, okay, this resource belongs to RoboShop project and the dev environment, and it is created through Terraform. Okay. So as a module user, you don't need to do anything. You just need to pass the values. Everything is taken care by this one here. Okay. So now again, let us create as a module developer. I'm developing module for AWS Internet Gateway Terraform. Okay. So this is the Internet Gateway definition. you need to use either main or this. Okay, I'm just using it as main. So VPC ID is AWS VPC dot main dot ID. This is common. And again, let us have merge and then var dot common tags, comma, var dot internet gateway tags. Okay. So here you need to give variable definition. Variable IGW tags. Okay. Make it as optional. Okay. If user not giving tags also, it's not a problem actually. You need to still create the resource because tags are always optional. Okay. So now here you need to just pass internet gateway tags equal to var dot internet gateway tags. So this name should be exactly same as this variable name. Okay. So whatever module developer defined here, so the same name you have to use here. Here it is your wish. It is completely under your control. For example, internet gateway tags. I'm just giving variable internet gateway tags. So default and then name equal to RoboShop. Okay, so this is RoboShop internet gateway, right? So that is why I'm giving here like that. Now, yeah, that's it. You are passing internet gateway tags and this is optional, completely optional because you already gave empty value here. Okay. So now if you do this, you will get internet gateway. Okay. So it is saying one resource will be created. Now Terraform apply. So it is completed. Now you can go and check here. Internet gateways. You can see RoboShop internet gateway. Okay, you can see all the values here. So now we need to associate that. Oh yeah, it's already associated here by giving VPC ID. So VPC and internet gateway is done. Now we need to give two public subnets, two private subnets, and then two database subnets. Okay, so here resource AWS subnet Terraform. Okay. Resource subnet, for example, let me copy this. But I said we need two. Okay. So this count equal to, you can give a variable public subnet CITR. Okay, so user has to give the public subnet CITR. I'm giving length of var dot public subnet CITR. Okay, VPC ID is done, and then CIDR block, how you will get the first var.public subnet CIDR of count.index. Okay. And then, so there is availability zone here. Okay, where you want to create this. There is availability zone. We need to provide where you have to create that count.index. Okay, and then tags again the same. Public subnet tags. Okay, so this is the resource definition. So user has to provide two public subnet CIDR. User has to provide the availability zones, and user can provide common tags and then public tags, public subnet tags. Okay. So let me create the variables, variable and public subnet tags, and then availability zone also. Okay. Availability zone. So this is the definition. Now let's go to the user. So here public subnet CIDR equal to var.public subnet CIDR. I'm just giving inside variables, variable public subnet CIDR. So I want to 10.0.1.0/24. So this is 1A generally, and then 10.0.2.0/24. Okay, this is 1B. And now you can give variable AJets. I want US East 1A. Okay, and then I want US East 1B. Okay, so as a user, I'm asking module to create two public subnets, one with this CIDR and another one with this CIDR. And I'm asking to create first one in this 1A availability zone and second one in this 1B availability zone. Okay, so now let us give the tags also. Public subnet. So public subnet tags. So here, let us take the names. Public subnet names of count.index. This is good. So this is the map, and I'm creating a map here. Name equal to var dot public subnet names, public subnet names of count.index. Okay, so this is one map, and another map is like this: name, and what is the value? Value I am taking it from the public subnet names. So this is a list. Let us create variable public subnet names instead of tags. So what I can do here is I can give public subnet names. So inside here I can give RoboShop public 1A and then RoboShop public 1B. Okay. So here inside VPC, I need to pass agents equal to var dot agents, and then public subnet names equal to var dot public subnet names. So what I'm doing here is, this is public subnet creation. Just understand this, public subnet creation. So as a user, I'm passing the CIDR. This is the CIDR to create. Okay, I'm asking the module to create two public subnets, one with this CIDR, another with CIDR. In one availability zone 1A and another availability zone 1B. Give the first public subnet name as RoboShop public 1A, and then give the second public subnet name as RoboShop public 1B here. Okay, now when it comes to the module, so you can see here, it is getting the length, it is nothing but 2, and it is attaching to the VPC and the count.index. It is getting the first CIDR, and it is getting the first availability zone, and it is taking the name you have given through the list. So that's it. Okay. So at any point of time, you should have the variables available. Okay. Now Terraform plan. So now it is saying to add. So one is this one, and the other one is, you can see, public subnet 1A, and it is in 1A availability zone, and the second one is 1B availability zone. It is public 1B. Okay. So now let us go for Terraform apply auto approve. So similarly, let us develop two private subnets. Okay. So now as a module developer, you need to create a resource definition. Okay. Obviously, you need to give count equal to 2. So you need 2 CIDR. So that should come from user, and then 2 availability zones. That should again come from user, and then merge common tags with private subnet names. Okay. So now let us go and then check here how the subnets are created. You can see public 1A, go to the tags, name is public 1A, and then all the other tags came up. So just you are looping it. That's it. So now again, I need to create another resource definition. So this is this one. Sorry, you can call it as. Okay, let me just destroy this. Here name, I want to just give it as public. So now I'm creating private. Okay. So similarly, the variables here, as a module developer, I need the subnet CIDR, private subnet CIDR. Okay. And then private subnet names. So agent is already defined, no need. So here Instead of public, you can always give private subnet CIDR and then private subnet CIDR and then private subnet names. So I'm expecting user has to provide private subnet CIDR and then private subnet names, and agent is already mentioned. Okay, so yeah, be careful while copy pasting. So now user has to provide variable private subnet CIDR. Okay, so let us give private subnet from 11 and then 12. Okay, and then private subnet names. Okay, just I will give private 1A and then private 1B. So I just leave the remaining 3.0, 4.0, 5.0. That's for future purpose. Okay. So this one availability zone should be exactly like this. Otherwise you will get an error, obviously. Okay. So now I'm giving private subnet CIDR, private subnet names. So obviously it is our responsibility to pass private subnet creation. Okay. Private subnet CIDR equal to var dot private subnet CIDR and then agents equal to var dot. So agents is already there, no need to pass again. Private subnet names equal to var dot private subnet names. Okay, that's it. Now let us go for Terraform apply. You will get all the resources. Now I destroyed, right? I will get all the resources. Okay, first VPC is getting created. An internet gateway and public subnets are created, private subnets are created. Now you can just refresh. Okay, you got private, you got public subnet. So now as a user, I expect database also. Database subnet creation. So it is my responsibility to provide the database subnet CIDR. Okay, and then database subnet names. This is database. And then this is database subnet names. Okay, you can hard code here. Okay, like this. So since I'm not interested in hard code, I'm just giving it as variable. Var dot database subnet names. Okay, so inside variables, you can give values like this. Database subnet CIDR and database subnet names. So now I will give from 21, 22, and then database. So all CIDR should be different. If you give 11 here again, we'll obviously get an error. So I'm just taking one convention. Public, it will be 1.0, 2.0. Private, 11 and 12. Database, 21 and 22. So like this. It's your wish actually, but this is better while doing it so that anybody can understand. If any server starts with 11 or 12, then it will be private. If any server starts with 1.1, 1.2, 2.3, something like that, then it is public server. So that is how you can use the naming convention. Okay. So as a user, I'm passing, it's my responsibility. Now, as a module developer, you should have the setting also here. So you should have the resource definition to create the database, and then database subnet CIDR, okay, and then database subnet CIDR here, and database subnet names. Okay, and inside variables, obviously you should have the references. Okay, so now let us apply. Okay, now actually maybe you will have confused when I'm switching as a module developer, I'm switching as a user. Okay, so now let me do one thing. Okay, so let me destroy. So generally first module development should be over, but I'm doing parallelly because we need to test it. So what I do here is I will create one README document. So it is module developer responsibility to provide this README document, what this VPC module is doing. Okay, so VPC module. So I need to write. So this module is going to create VPC and then internet gateway, and then two public subnets and two private subnets and two database subnets. Okay, and I need to give the variable definition also, just like in Terraform, how they are giving the documentation. So like this, they are giving what is the argument reference, what is the attribute, something, right? They are giving. So just I'm giving inputs. So what are the inputs? CIDR block. So is this required? Yes, it is required. So user has to provide CIDR block. Okay. And what is the next input? Enable DNS hostname. So this is optional. User can provide enable DNS hostnames. Default is true. Okay. And then what else we have? Enable DNS support. So user can provide enable DNS support. Default is true. And what is the another common tags? So user can provide common tags for all resources. Default is empty. Okay, here you need to mention optional. Here you need to mention optional. What else? VPC tags. VPC tags. So again, this is optional. The user can provide VPC tags. Default is empty. And what else we have? IGW tags. So it is your responsibility, obviously. User can provide internet gateway tags for all resources for VPC, for internet gateway resources. Default is empty. And what else we have? Public subnet CIDR. So okay, I'm writing this so that you will understand better. Public subnet CIDR. Is this optional or default? I mean, is this optional or required? Can someone please type? So this is obviously required. So without that, you cannot create. Okay. User must provide a list of 2 public subnet CIDR. Okay. And then what else? Public subnet names. So this is also required. The user must provide a list of 2 public subnet names. And then agents. So this is also required. So user must provide 2 availability zones. Okay. And then what else? Similarly, private subnet, let me copy that. Instead of public subnet here, it should be private. Now here it is database. Okay, so this is how module developer will create the documentation. Now let me push this actually. CD Terraform AWS and then VPC git init Terraform init git remote add origin. Let me go here, create one repo, Terraform AWS VPC public create repository. Something. So imagine this is your company GitHub repository. Okay, now you see the documentation and then you will understand the inputs and then you will create the resources. Okay, so let me delete this RoboShop infra. Or I think you understand, no need to delete, it will take a lot of time. So just imagine, so you are seeing this documentation and then you started creating RoboShop infra and here you created vpc.tf and then you understood. So this CIDR block is required. So you are giving CIDR block and then common tags, even it is optional. Okay, but you are providing this. VPC tags, even it is optional, you are providing. Okay, and internet gateways, public subnet CIDR, agents, public subnet names. So you will see the documentation of the module, and then you will start creating the resource. Okay, so let us proceed, and we need to go for route tables. Okay, so now as a module developer, I'm creating route table, AWS route table Terraform. So this is the one. Let me take it. Okay. I want to put public. Okay, VPC main route. Let us keep it later. Just creating the route table. So the same. Let me take like this. Okay, where dot common tags, where dot public route table tags. Okay, still you can have name inside this. So let me show that. So you need to have your variable public route table tags. To make it optional, just give like this. Okay, and then yeah, this is the module. So you will get public route table. What you are expecting, just the tags. Okay, so here inside public route table is expecting public route table tags. Even it is optional, I'm giving it. So the variable I can have here, variable public route table tags, and then inside default, I can give name here. Name equal to RoboShop public. Okay, so that's it. So these map will be sent to the module, and in here inside module, we are merging this with our common tags. Okay, so that's it. Now let us apply. Okay, so now the resources are getting created. You can see private database and then public route table. Everything is getting created. Okay, that is done. So now I need to add the route, AWS route Terraform. So when it is called as public route table or public subnet, if it has the route to the internet. Okay, so this is the resource, AWS route. I'm just naming it as public route table ID. What is the route table ID? AWS underscore route table dot public dot ID, and the destination should always be 0.0.0.0/0. Okay, what is the ID here, something will be internet gateway. Internet gateway ID. Gateway ID. Yeah, this is nothing but internet gateway. You can see identifier of a VPC internet gateway. So gateway ID equal to, we have our AWS internet gateway dot ID. So you can give explicitly depends on also. Okay. So sometimes AWS, in very few cases, like 1% of the cases, AWS cannot understand the dependency automatically. So at that time, you can give depends on tag. Okay. So here you can give AWS route table dot public. So if Terraform say this, for example, you are giving here. So if Terraform see this, it will see depends on, then it will first create AWS route table dot public. So generally, most of the cases it is automatic, but here itself you can see route table equal to AWS route table dot public dot ID. Then it will understand I have to create the resource first, and then I need to create this one. So generally it will understand, but few cases, so we need to explicitly give depends on. That's why I'm telling you depends on tag. If you give this, then Terraform will understand I need to create the other resource first. Now apply auto approve. So now here we can say public go to route tables and then public. Here you can see it completed. Here you can see the route is added to the internet gateway. Okay. Yeah. So I created public route table. I added the route. Now I need to associate public route table with public subnets. So generally, you know, how can you do it through the console? Okay, you go here and then there will be subnet associations, edit subnet associations, and you need to select this one, public, two public subnets, sorry, two public subnets, and then save associations. This is manual process, but here you can have automation through AWS subnet association, Terraform, AWS route table association. I'm just calling it as public association. You need to give two associations actually. Okay. So public route table to public 1A subnet. Okay. And then similarly, this the same table you need to associate to public 1B subnet. Okay. So obviously you need to iterate this to two times. So you need to iterate this to two times. Okay. Okay. So now I need to have the count equal to length of var dot public subnet CIDR. So 2 times I need to iterate. For the first time, I want public 1A and the ID of it. So generally before doing this, let me print outputs dot tf. Okay, output public subnet let me print the public subnets. Okay, default AWS subnet dot public. Okay. Let me print the information what is there inside. Okay, so as a developer, as a module developer, you are giving the outputs to the user. Now how users can print that? Okay, he can have outputs dot tf. Okay, output public subnet info. I'm printing like this, and the value equal to module dot this dot public subnets. Okay, observe here carefully. So this module is giving a value public subnets as output. How you need to catch that? So inside outputs module dot this dot public subnets. Okay, that's it. Now let us print so there is something error. Public subnets. I think yeah, it's not default, it is value. Sorry. Yeah, it is value. Now let us print. You are getting the full information of the public subnets created. Where is it? VPC ID and then owner ID, CIDR block. You can see the ID. So you are getting the IDs. So now here what I do, so I'm getting, where is this public? You can see AWS subnet. Let me copy this. Public -1, public of 1, public of 0. So when you are getting two subnets, so this is like this. AWS subnet dot public of 0 and of 1. Okay. So now if you want to get all, then you need to give AWS star. Okay. So this means list of subnets created. the list of subnets created. So I have the list of subnets created. If I refer this, I will get the list. Okay. Out of this list, I want to get the ID. So this one, so a simple function here, generally that is here. Okay, so I need to get the subnet ID. This is the two. First time I want to get the first subnet ID. How you will get first subnet ID is there is element function in Terraform. So this element function, what it does is from a list, it will get the particular ID. Okay, so what I can do here is element of, so I said this is the list. So this will give the list AWS subnet dot public of star. So this will give all the elements dot ID of count dot index. So what this will do is, so this will give the IDs of the list. We'll get first ID, second ID. Out of that, I'm selecting the first index. Okay. So what it will get here is, so we have the output, right? So it will give the, where is this ID? This is the one. Okay. So this will give a list of this ID and then another one. What is another ID? This is the ID. Okay. So I'm asking Terraform, I want all the public subnet IDs created. That's it. I want the list of all the public subnet IDs created. So this is the list. So out of this, for the first time, I'm getting the 0th index, and the second time I'm getting the first index. So that is the element function. So if they ask in interviews, what are the functions you used inside Terraform, you can say merge function. So in the case of merging common tags and then resource specific tags, and I'm using element function and I'm using length function, you can tell all this example. Okay. So now this is the one. What is the route table ID? AWS route table dot public dot this one. So for the first time, you will get the first public subnet ID created, and then it will be associated with our route table. For the second time, you will get the second public subnet ID created. Okay, just go through this function again. So this is the list of IDs created, and out of this, I'm first selecting the 0th index, and the second time I'm selecting the first index. Okay, so now let us create private also. And then this one, private association. This is private route table, and then you can always go for private route table tags. And this is private association. I want to loop through the private subnet CIDR, list of private subnet IDs created, and then associate with it. Okay. Yeah. And then similarly, I will create database also. So database route table tags, private route table tags we need to create. Variable and then database route table tags, private route table tags. So this I created the definition. Private route table association, and then database route table, and then database route table association. That's it. So now as a user, you need to supply those variables. Private route table tags, and then database route table tags. This is private. This is database. Okay, that's it. So this function you need to really understand, otherwise you will confuse. I'm just getting the list of databases IDs created. Star means everything. And out of that, I'm selecting for the first time 0th index, for the second time first index. Okay, that's it. Now Terraform apply. So something is saying database route table tags required. Yeah. So in variable you provided, but here you didn't provide. Private route table tags, var.private route table tags, database route table tags, var.database route table tags. Okay. Okay, this is done. Just don't want this output, but the dimension only created. That's it. So now you can see all the route tables are created, and then it is associated. Database route table is associated with database 1A, 1B subnet, and private route table is associated with 1A, 1B subnet, and public route table is associated with 1A, 1B subnet. Okay. So we can stop till here today, and tomorrow we will continue. We'll make it more dynamic. Okay. And then, yeah, you need to practice this, obviously. So tomorrow we will add NAT gateway, and then we will create like outputs, something like locals, data sources, many things. Any questions? Yes, Chandrasekhar.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning.
Yeah, we are importing the resources from module to VPC, right?
Yes, not importing, just referring. Yeah,
Yeah,
means
yeah,
like
yeah. From source we are getting, right?
yes, correct.
Yeah. Who will create these module resources in the company, like in real time?
It's yourself sometimes, somebody else also. For example, a central team will be there, like cloud central team. So they will take care of the entire cloud operations. Maybe you are the DevOps engineer for a particular project.
Mhm.
So why this module is, so for creating some standards also. So
Okay.
if you create yourself, you may create some dummy resources, some random resources. You may use some other availability zones. So as a company, maybe your project decided to create the resources only in 1A and 1B.
Okay. It means that they will design, they will follow for particular manner, and they will give us like a task to create
So they will create
according to
these
that.
modules and they will give you the definition, right? So they are submitting this document to you. So,
Okay.
and then they can restrict you through the modules. Modules is not only for code reuse to follow some best standards. So now those guys, they can use some best standards while creating the resources.
Mhm.
Okay, so those standards again, we will see in tomorrow's session. So now they
Okay.
can restrict the resources only to be created in 1A and 1B. They can restrict some other parameters.
Okay. Same like module. Is there any other resources will be created like this?
So this is module. Same like module, what else you are expecting?
I mean, instead of module, is there any other way to create
You can
resources?
create your own resources. No need to depend on modules.
Okay. Okay, sir. Thank you.
So here you have RoboShop infra, right? You no need
Yes.
to refer the module. You can create your own resource definitions.
Okay.
That will work. But obviously, again, it's a code reuse, right? Why you need to create the resource again? For example, so we have 100 teams in a RoboShop project. Okay, RoboShop is not a simple project. Generally, if you take it a big, right? Like Amazon, 100 teams in Amazon. So if everybody start creating their own Terraform resources, the time will be more, correct?
Yes.
So you need to create resource definition. You need to understand the parameters, everything. But 100 times the code is duplicated if everybody started creating their own Terraform resources. Instead of that, one single team can develop modules
They will distribute it to the
and
other team.
100 teams can use it.
Okay.
So here code is not duplicated. Okay, less efforts, obviously less efforts, right?
Yes.
And then central team, this single central team can make some best practice. If you write, if 100 people develop the Terraform code, then everybody can do it in their own way. So few persons may follow the best practices, few persons may not follow the best practices.
Yes.
But here there is only one team, so their concentration is always on to follow the best practices and some securities. Okay, so now you are forced to follow. You don't know whether they implemented best practices or not, but the central team always, their responsibility is to write the Terraform module, to develop the Terraform modules using best practices and security mechanisms. So that is guaranteed. Now you no need to spend your efforts on the best practices and security. Just use the module.
Okay. Thank
Okay.
you.
So now here you can see, now you are allowed, that is it. You are allowed to select your availability zones. Now you can select 1C, 1D, and you can select 3, 4 availability zones also. So, but that will give us unnecessary cost, right? For example, here you can select four public subnets in 4 availability zones, and you can give 4 availability zones. But to reduce the cost, central team decided only 2 availability zones. Okay, so in tomorrow's session, we will restrict how can you restrict users only to use 2 availability zones from the module itself. Okay, so just see this. Now, if I give another CIDR, okay, and then another availability zone. Okay, like this, if I give. So what will happen? Just see the Terraform AWS VPC module definition. What will happen here? How many public subnets you will get?
Only 2, but availability zones are one extra is there.
Only 2.
It
Now
may,
I give another public subnet CIDR also.
then it may take other one.
So it will create 3.
Yeah.
But as a module developer, as a company, I don't want 3 availability zones. That will create unnecessary cost, right? I want
Yes.
only 2 availability zones. So now here you can restrict from the module. So you can impose few restrictions. So that is, we will see in tomorrow's session.
Okay.
So modules is not only for the code reuse, 2 advantages, code reuse, and then force some best practices and standards according to your company. According to my company, I don't want in multiple availability zones. I want only first 2 availability zones. So that we will see in tomorrow's session.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Janardhan?
Yeah, hi Shiva, good morning.
Yeah, hi, good.
I just wanted to understand the on the screen we have the tags is equal to merge of this is var that common underscore tags, that is the one set of variables, set of tags, and in addition to that we are also adding not this one, Shiva, the below one and the resource here.
Yeah.
Could you please, I mean, just wanted to understand this, like how it is happening.
So I want for all the resources, common tags should be there.
Okay.
So what are those common tags? This one. Obviously, all the resources belongs to ProboShop project.
Correct.
And now I'm working on dev environment. All the resources are created through Terraform. So these are the common tags I want on every resource.
Okay.
Addition to that, here I need to give some name, right, to the public subnet. Otherwise, it will become empty.
Okay.
So this is the map. You can see this is the map. Inside that name, I'm taking it from the public subnet names, list of public subnet names here.
Okay. Okay.
Or else you can just give like this, public routable tags. So this is another map.
Another
Anyhow,
map.
you can see here. This is another map. So you can create the map at the runtime like that, or you can give the map like this.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
So here you can add any number of resources you want. I mean, any number of tags you want here, you can add here.
Value pairs we can add. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Fine. Yeah. Understand.
Aravind?
Hi, Shiva.
Yeah, hi.
So here, right, I just want to understand the flow. So as a module developer in Terraform AWS VPC, we are defining the variables, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
correct.
So once we define the variables, we are passing on main.tf, correct?
Correct. Yes, we are referring here, correct.
And from there, we are passing the same variables on variables.
Sorry. Sorry, I lost your voice. Lost your voice.
Hi, sir. I think he meant to say that the variable name may be same or not.
This variable, whatever you give here, this should be the same here as well. Otherwise, the reference will be wrong, right? So that's what we
Yes.
learned while learning the variables. Whatever you are giving it here, it should be available in variables.tf. Okay. Rami Reddy.
Yeah, hi, sure.
Yeah, hi.
In the Terraform AWS VPC, you are putting all resources in main.tf. Can we divide it like vpc.tf, subnet.tf, route.tf?
See, VPC, whenever you create for a project, you will create all the resources, VPC, subnet, internet gateway. So that's why I'm keeping it in a single.
Okay.
So obviously we need all these resources. You don't need, so now you can always create a subnet. You can always create route table, separate everything. You can separate it, but for a project, we need all these resources. So that is for sure. So that is why I'm keeping it in a single file. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
So there are some modules from the Terraform actually. You don't need to create the modules from the scratch. Okay, you can always see there are Terraform AWS modules given by Terraform itself. These are open source. You just type here, you can see Terraform AWS VPC module. And the same way how we are developing, they also developed main.tf, outputs, variables.tf, and then they are giving the documentation here. What are the inputs? What are the outputs? And some examples, everything. Okay. So modules, you can use two things. One, create your own module. Second, use open source modules. So we are doing the first way. Okay, we will understand how to create your own modules, and then later we will use open source modules also. This is a debatable question. So what do you prefer? Either create your own module or or use open source module. Okay, we will see both ways, and then we will see advantages and disadvantages of the both approaches. Okay. Yeah. Arvind?
Yeah, sorry, Shiva, I got disconnected.
Yeah.
My question is when we are creating the variables, right?
Hmm.
So as a model developer, we are creating the variables. Okay. Then
Correct.
we are passing those variables in main.tf, correct?
Correct.
From there, again, we are creating RoboShop documentation. This we are the definition is being passed in the variable.tf under RoboShop documentation. So
Okay.
I want to just understand the flow, how we have to follow these.
This is the flow.
Yeah, first you create the variable definition under
See, whatever you create the variables first, or you create the var.cdr block. If it is there here, what does it mean?
it's in a variable.
So it should be available. CADR block should be available inside variables.tf.
Okay,
Correct or not?
correct, yeah.
So if you are giving where.enable DNS host names, it should be available in variables.tf.
Correct, yeah.
You either create first here or you create here, it doesn't matter. Obviously, whatever it is here, it should be there finally.
Okay, okay.
Okay. Yeah, so you need to do a lot of practice, all of you. So for today, what you can do here is you clone this repository. Okay, I'm pushing it here, right? You clone the repository and start using it. You clone the repository and complete this inputs. Okay, we added private subnet and then private route table tags, database route table tags, right? You complete this documentation, you clone this repository, complete this documentation, and then create your own repository to use this module. Okay, if you get any doubt, you can just refer this. Okay. Any other questions? Yeah, Sridhar.
Hi, good morning, Shiva.
Yeah, hi,
So,
good morning.
can you please scroll on that main, the source, what exactly it is, the path of that Terraform?
Since
Yeah,
it is
the first line.
in my, yeah, this is in my workspace here. I'm going one step back and then referring this folder. Okay, so this is still in development stage. We are still developing the module. Once the module development is completed, we will push to the GitHub and then we will refer it from the GitHub directly.
So this is just like as a folder only.
Yeah, this is obviously folder.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so tomorrow we will complete this VPC module development with all the best practices. We will restrict users to create in only in 2 availability zones, and then okay, yeah. So yeah, for today you practice it. Understand how a module developer is developing. Understand a user how he is using. Once you understand this flow, it is same for all the resources for any cloud. Okay, so this is very crucial. Now I'm destroying the resources. So tomorrow we will create NAT gateway and then the VPC will be completed. You can move on to another services. Okay, have a nice day. See you in tomorrow's session. Practice well.